So let's get into this video. Apparently there's some new developments when it comes to the BLM nonprofit, which if you don't know what that is, which I'd be surprised if you don't know what BLM stands for, but Black Lives Matter. So let's go ahead and watch this video.
The Justice Department is investigating the Black Lives Matter organization over fraud allegations, saying it misused tens of millions of dollars in donations.
BLM is a scam.
Clip that. I am not the first black activist. In fact, there are 326 black activists facing federal charges.
Executive with Black Lives Matter is accused of siphoning more than $10 million from donors. The claim was made in a court filing by the grassroots arm of the organization.
BLM was literally a scam. They had bought mansions and
says Black Lives Matter secretly bought a $6 million house. Allies and critics alike have questioned where the organization's money has gone.
Now, this organization is so crazy, BLM activists have been arrested and convicted of lynching people. I'm not talking about the KKK. I'm talking about BLM.
Pasadena, California, where a Black Lives Matter organizer is facing up to 4 years in state prison after she was convicted of a rarely known statute in California law known up until recently as felony lynching.
So the Department of Justice is investigating the scam of BLM. Let's talk about it.
Oh boy, this is Nate, the lawyer. Go check them out on YouTube.
Black Lives Matter is an organization that came to prominence in the wake of George Floyd's death. Police officer Derek Chauvin was convicted of murdering him during an arrest that went wrong. Now, this woman, Patrisse Cullors, is credited with co-founding the Black Lives Matter group in 2013. The group came together after the killing of Trayvon Martin and the acquittal of George Zimmerman. Now, Black Lives Matter started on July 13th, 2023, and this tweet started the movement. So now let's just be honest with the situation. This group was never anything serious, and we can tell that from its tax returns in 2019. So here's the group's 2019 tax returns. Now in part one, where it says revenues, expenses, and changes of net assets or fund balances, this is where you're supposed to put if you made any money and what you did with it. And as you can see at the end, it's all zero. Matter of fact, this tax return is so bad, the whole tax return is zero. They handed in essentially a blank tax return. Now, here where it says list of officers, you see Patrisse Cullors. She is the executive director at this time. They made absolutely no money. All the rest of the pages are essentially blank. See, they even signed their name to this. This is it. It's all zero. They had absolutely no money, no assets, or at least that's what this tax return is saying. They had nothing. These pages are empty. Matter of fact, we have to get to the end, and that's where they have to put in what the company's about, and that's all they do. That's it. Essentially, the highest number on his tax return is zero. It's like, that's it. They've made nothing. They have nothing, absolutely nothing. But next year, they'll have $90 million cash. Now, this was the last tax return that was going to look like this because George Floyd happened. Now, after the George Floyd incident, BLM raised over $90 million in less than a year. And Patrisse Cullors, who you saw was the executive director when they had absolutely not a dime to spend, she's still the executive director, and now they have $90 million to spend.
Contrary to what, has been reported, much of the funding that came in was from individual donors. That was a lot of white guilt money. There's a lot of white folks being like, we just got to put the money.
That's that good guilt. $90 million of guilt. That's a lot of good. that's that good guilt.
So $90 million is a lot of money.
I'm curious what they did with all that money. $90 million in a year? That's crazy work. Crazy work. Even to say it's white guilt, I think that's a wild statement. I think if she's accurately describing how they got the funds, which is from small donors, I'm willing to bet a large sum of that 90 million also came from the black community. So not only are you taking from the white community, but you're also taking from your own black community. And let's see if she does anything positive with the 90 million.
So what do you think they did with that money? Well,
I don't know, Nate, tell us.
Patrisse Cullors, who's running the organization, said, hey, let me just hook up my family and friends because we have the money to spend. And she started hiring her family and friends and giving them monstrously huge salaries to do things they had no experience of doing. Check it out. Cullors' entire family needed to be on the payroll, and they needed to pay them hundreds of thousands of dollars to do work for them. For instance, Cullors' brother, sister, mother, even her baby's father, all of them getting money through BLM. Here's some examples. This is Paul Cullors, brother of Patrisse Cullors. He's BLM's head of security, and before he got this job, he was a graffiti artist in New York City. Now, the New York Post reports that he gets an annual salary of $139,000 a year. BLM also hires his security company,
It's a
Cullors
nice little
Security LLC.
little
In 2020,
paycheck. 139,000. I could use that for security. What?
BLM paid the company $840,000 for
Damn.
Paul Cullors' security professionalism. He also made another $756,000 in 2021. Now, the conflict of interest was so wild here, they even listed it on the tax returns where you're supposed to list it, but here's what they put. Business transactions involving interested parties. Name, Paul Cullors, Cullors Protection LLC, relationship between interested parties and the organization. Family member of founder and executive director, and doesn't forget he's a board member too. Description of transaction, professional security services. And remember, before this, he was a graffiti artist. Now, Patrice's baby daddy was up next. His company, Trap Heels LLC, got $969,000 from BLM. Oh yeah, and Trap Hills was also paid $150,000 for a November 2020 live stream of election night. Here's Patrisse also talking about our mom and sister are getting paid by BLM.
Is there any truth to the reports that your family has been hired to work at the property that was purchased by Black Lives Matter?
While my brother is the head of security and my mom and sister did work at the property, there are also dozens of other people who work in the organization that are Black folks and are doing amazing work. It's not like I literally, opened up the bank accounts and was like, I'm bringing all my family and friends in.
Well, you pretty much did bring all of your family, unless you're saying your sister, your brother, your mother, your baby's father, and your spouse are not part of your family, because those were the people who were getting paid. Now,
yeah, but if they're doing actual work, I don't see an issue with that, and charging large sums, it's like, all right, it might be a little petty and a little bit like overkill, but nonprofits do this all the time. They usually keep it within themselves. So it's, so far, nothing too crazy, at least. Not yet.
Remember the question the interviewer asked Patrisse about the property? Listen again.
Is there any truth to the reports that your family has been hired to work at the property that was purchased by Black Lives Matter?
Well, the property they're talking about is a $6 million mansion that was purchased with donation money from BLM.
Okay,
Patrisse even shot a
wild.
YouTube video and put it on her channel. Check it out. Now, I don't know how this is in any way dedicated to ending state-sanctioned violence, liberating Black people, and ending white supremacy forever. It looks like they're having a really good time in a really expensive house. This is just the tip of the iceberg, people. BLM board members have started consulting firms all over the place, and these consulting firms are getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars from BLM. For instance, Bowers Consulting Firm is run by a current board member, Sholama Bowers. He was the consultant of all consultants. His consulting costs were $2 million.
Damn.
$2 million. This guy's the greatest consultant ever. And then there's a lawsuit that accused him of siphoning off tens of millions of dollars this way. Here it is. The new leader of the National Black Lives Matter nonprofit siphoned more than $10 million in fees from donors to pay his consulting firm, according to the lawsuit. Now, we can go through these examples all day, but obviously the finances are funny and things just don't add up. Now, let's think about this as rational people. They raised $90 million. As of today, $60 million of that is gone like a fart in a wind.
Damn.
They only have about roughly $33 million left. So they went from operating from no money. Remember, they weren't making anything.
And that chart showed from 2020 to 2023. So, like, would you spend 60 mil in 2 years? Like, I understand if you're a celebrity, okay, you could spend 60 mil, that's nothing. But, like, what does the founder spend, and what did they contribute to the Black community? Did they open up any centers? Did they provide scholarships? Like, did they, provide education to further people's ability to get better work? Did they facilitate anything that helped the community at all? Food drives, at least? Like, 60 million? This is crazy.
So a blank tax return to almost spending $60 million in 2 years. Now, because of all this shadiness, Black Lives Matter had to stop online fundraising after California and Washington threatened legal action against the not-for-profit.
If California and Washington threaten legal action against you, you're clearly doing something wrong. Because California is one that does not. But hey, let me not go there. You guys know I don't really like California, but I'm going to just leave it
Soon
there.
after, Cullors resigned because obviously the money was looking a little funny. This was after her family had obviously made millions of dollars in salaries, consulting fees, and security fees. Now, when people started finding out what they were doing with the money, they weren't spending it on the cause, they were spending it on themselves with these mansions and thousands of dollars. Now, remember, BLM is nationwide. So now these activists who are using donor money in these wild ways started going to jail for fraud. Here's one in Boston.
Boston community activist is going to be sentenced in January after pleading guilty to federal fraud charges. Prosecutors say Monica Cannon Grant took thousands of dollars in donations that were earmarked for her anti-violence nonprofit. However, she spent it on herself.
The mom, would you have had a problem with someone who is under federal indictment giving a speech to your kids?
No. Because the people closest to the problem understand how to solve it. I am not the first Black activist.
What? You wouldn't have a problem if... Oh my God, like you can't make this up. You can't make this up. This is special. The people closest to the problem understand the problem the best? What? Huh? The problem was that you guys stole money. You guys not even just stole money, but you raised money under false pretenses and then chose to spend that money on things that had nothing to do with your cause. What are you talking about?
Fact, there are 326 Black activists facing federal charges.
Matter of fact, the
I wonder
president
why.
of BLM Georgia is also going to jail for fraud.
Court documents say Sir Major Page will spend 42 months behind bars.
Damn.
He was arrested in 2020 for
that, 4
fraudulently
years?
using a Black Lives Matter
Almost 4 years?
nonprofit organization by way of misrepresentations and defrauding donors. According to the FBI, Page spent more than $200,000 on personal items with no identifiable purchases or expenditures for social or racial injustice.
So as you can see, locally, these people are being held accountable for stealing donor money. But on a national level, the DOJ didn't go after BLM National. And that is what they're looking into now. They're investigating BLM National because of all the stuff you've just seen in this video.
The Justice Department is investigating the Black Lives Matter organization over fraud allegations, saying it misused tens of millions of dollars in donations. The DOJ's investigation reportedly focused on the foundation's handling of donations collected in the wake of the George Floyd case back in 2020. Now, at that time, organizers received a surge of more than $90 million. The Associated Press reports critics of the nonprofit foundation and of the BLM movement broadly accused organizers of not being transparent about how it was spending the donations. That criticism grew louder after BLM Foundation leaders in 2022 confirmed they used donations to purchase a $6 million Los Angeles area property that includes a home with 6 bedrooms and bathrooms.
Now, the DOJ is looking into this, but one big thing happened.
Ridiculous.
All the money is gone. BLM is saying they've spent all that money. They're broke.
Black Lives Matter's national organization at risk of going bankrupt.
But the entire situation looks incredibly shady.
And you have broken down the numbers to the penny. We're going to do a little bit more broad strokes here, but let's take a look. Total revenue, basically $8.5 million. Total expenses, $17 million. That is not good when you do the math, and let's do that math, and you can see the total deficit that they're running is about $8.5 million. And on top of that, they had investment losses of about $10 million as well. So how did it get this bad? If for years, Adam, they've been on the receiving end of all this white guilt money, all of this corporate money, and in the year after George Floyd, they received $90 million. How did it get this bad in the red?
Now, obviously, you're going to have half the internet saying that this DOJ investigation into BLM is politically motivated. Others are going to say it's long time coming. But I'm going to ask you, I think this should have happened under the Biden administration. We knew what was going on. She's paying her brother, her boyfriend, or, this guy's taking $10 million in his own consult. This was all a scam. So tell me, what do you think? Do you think any of these BLM officials are going to be prosecuted? Do you think anybody's going to go to jail? Or do you think that this is going to be just a big nothing burger?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be a big nothing burger. I think they're definitely about to face the music, and it's going to be one of those things where they're going to throw the book at them. At least be a bit better at paying yourselves and at least do some community outreach. You know, you had $90 million. You couldn't invest 20 million of that to then have that 20 million produce money, even if it's opening up some kind of, I know it's a non-profit, so they can't necessarily have revenue per se. You can keep your nonprofit going, so you do receive funds that fuel the nonprofit. And especially after receiving $90 million and you're bankrupt, let's just take out all the negative things and say that it's not just a situation where they were paying themselves, right? Let's just remove that for a second. You had $90 million and now you're facing bankruptcy. That's insanity. That is beyond mismanagement. That's negligence. Any and all crimes that you can attach to that, I would attach to that. That's super ridiculous that it got that bad. Now you tag on to other things where she's paying family members and things like that, which isn't necessarily inherently bad if you're paying family members, if they're producing or if they're doing something that gives value to the nonprofit. But to do it in the way they were doing it, come on, man. Come on. Again, just another situation that gives a bad look to us when it's like, it's not all of us. It's just a select few. And usually the select few who do something tend to get the most attention. And then it just trickles down. They're like, oh, well, look at them. Look at what they're doing. Why would you trust them? And those people kind of statements, like, this is just ridiculous. And this organization, if it can be saved, it needs to be saved. And if it can be turned into a nonprofit that actually helps the community, and I don't just mean like race baiting shit, because I don't believe, like, the Black Lives Matter thing to me was just the start of something to create more civil unrest between two classes of people. But now that it's here and it's an organization, can you turn it into something that helps actual communities? Can you turn it into something that furthers people's education, people's understanding of the monetary system? Can we turn it into something that actually is worth a damn, besides just a political arm to rile up people when there's some kind of injustice, or even when there's a situation that happens that then you interpret as an injustice? Like, come on, you know, like that's the shit that annoys me. That's one of the reasons I started the channel, because it's like I wanted to attack things like this, where it's like not all black folks think like this. Some do, and it's unfortunate, but not all.